Outgoing General Secretary Dr Blade Nzimande will deliver the political report detailing the events of his tenure and how the South African Communist Party has fared over the past years. For more, let's cross live now to our SABC political reporter, Samkele Maseko. He's in Boksburg. A very good morning to you, Samkele. A lot of interest in developments at this event. What can you tell us what's happening at the 15th National Congress as it got underway yesterday?
In essence, what is happening now is that delegates are trickling in back into the conference venue where 400 delegates voting will be here at the Boksburg hotel, in essence, for this Birchwood Hotel, for this 15th Congress of the South African Communist Party, where the outgoing General Secretary Blade Nzimande will hand over the reins to Solima Paila. We are expecting Blade Nzimande to deliver the political report at 10 o'clock this morning. As you can see through the visuals, my colleague Thabo Mthweni is showing you that those delegates some of them have arrived. I'm just going to ask Mr. Senzeni Zokwana, who is the national chairperson of the South African Communist Party, just to share a few words with us. We did deliver yesterday the opening remarks of the Congress. Mr. Zokwana, yesterday you spoke about how if your legs can no longer carry you, you must accept and move on and let younger, fresher legs come in. In essence, what did you mean by that opening remark?
What I meant is that leaders should not believe that they are automatically entitled to re-election to their positions. That becomes the decision that members must take. And leaders should leave office with a smile, for they have contributed for the contract they have signed with members, and not expecting anything. What I think has been bedeviling our organizations broadly in Africa has been leaders who want to leave office in corpses because they have lived long enough.
Are you, in essence, saying that your legs can no longer carry you and it's time for you to go home and rest?
My legs can still carry me, if the question is that, but I believe I have contributed enough. Younger leadership should come on so that we don't stay in positions for too long, such that people don't understand what we are saying because we tend to repeat some of the statements we have made, for we have been too long in the positions. My belief is that I've given all that I could. It is time for me now to be a member of the South African Communist Party.
So in essence, you are no longer eligible for re-election as part of the incoming NOPs that may be announced on Saturday?
I am not, and I hope that has been taken kindly by members, because I can feel now that I have done enough. I have led in many organizations. I don't think I need to leave the office in a wheelbarrow because I can no longer move.
The General Secretary Blade Nzimande, some have said he must come back as the national chairperson of the party. He's been General Secretary for 24 years. Subsequent to that, in 1998, when he was elected GS, he was the acting national chair of the Communist Party when Alfred Nzo was appointed as ambassador.
Yes.
Is that crop of leadership that you led with, is it time for all of them to go and for a younger, fresher generation to come in, or some of them must still remain so that they can infuse the newer generation coming in?
It's true, you don't need an exodus of leadership from office. But the principle of leaders leaving when the time comes should be encouraged, but it doesn't mean that everybody must leave because there will be problems. You need younger generation to find older leaders so that there can be a smooth transfer of experience to the oncoming leadership.
On the issue pertaining to the contestations, we have seen two different perspectives towards this Congress. Normally the SACP has a consensus on leadership. Have you reached that stage?
That discussion is taking place behind the scenes. My training in trade unions was that when your name is mentioned as a potential leader, you avoid being part of that discussion, avoiding a situation where you can hear those who are demotivating your name. And when you come to power, then you become selective in the manner of leading.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zokwana. That is the national chairperson of the South African Communist Party. There was an ANC delegation that was led by Gwede Mantashe that was here last night, and Nomvula Mukonyane as well, which was deliberating and overseeing the processes of the South African Communist Party Congress, which you normally see delegations coming from COSATU, coming from the ANC. You remember in 2017, the ANC had a large delegation where Oscar Mabuyane, the then Provincial Secretary of the Eastern Cape, was part of that delegation. You had Mandla Ndlovu, now Mpumalanga Provincial Chairperson, was was then Provincial Secretary, as part of that delegation. Joe Masongani as well was part of that delegation, and the late Jackson Mthembu was part of the ANC delegation, and Enoch Kotongwane, now Minister of Finance and ANC NEC member, was part of that delegation. But you also see Mamloko Kubai, who has just walked in here, who is an ANC NEC member. We are going to hijack her on some of the issues pertaining to the ANC and SACP. Mamloko Ngubane, just the SACP says it wants to build a broad front, in essence, to maybe one day contest the ANC. Do you feel threatened as a governing party that this debate once again raise its head in the SACP?
Samkele, you just ambushed me like that as I walk in. We are here to support SACP as our alliance partner, as the ANC. We remain the leader of the alliance. We do believe that there is areas they've raised quite consistently, the issue of reconfiguration of the alliance. So we'll be participating and engaging with members and delegates of the alliance who are here, of the SACP who are here. We are here to participate, and I think I'll leave it at that. The national chair actually is leading the delegation, so he will speak on behalf of the ANC during this conference.
So he's forfeited his seat just for this Congress as a CC member, just to lead the ANC delegation?
No. He remains the leader of the ANC, so we are here, all of us, led by him, obviously delegated by the SGO.
Thank you very much. Mamloko Kubai Ngubane there, who is part of the ANC delegation that was here. Nomvula Mukwanyane was here as well. We've also seen Solima Paila, who's rumored to be the incoming General Secretary of the Communist Party. He is alongside Benson Mkhicho, who is the Provincial Secretary of the South African Communist Party in the Western Cape Province, who are now going to try and doorstop Thula Sinxisi, who is the Deputy Chairperson of the South African Communist Party. He is still currently on the phone. He is one of those whom some have said that his legs must now be retired and he must now sit and motivate and support the incoming leadership of the Communist Party. I am going to go and hijack him now and speak to him. Mr. Nxisi, just a few questions. How are you finding this Congress so far? There was a debate yesterday on whether the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa should speak after the General Secretary of the party or before. Some feel as if he should speak before the General Secretary of the party.
No, that is a non-issue. To me, it's a non-issue. It was about just preferences of some people to say, in order for them to be able to synergize things, they feel that must come first, but others do not see any problem. So it's not an issue.
Mr. Nxisi, there have been talks of the Communist Party that you've been nowhere in community struggles when people are facing issues of water, electricity, that you've gone into government and you've forgotten the working class and you've forgotten your role as the vanguard of the working class. I mean, your General Secretary had to be whisked out in Inyala in Rustenburg because workers were simply fed up with the ANC-led administration and government deployees.
Well, you must understand that when workers are in negotiations and it's a bargaining period, tensions are normally up. That's why you see strikes, that's why you see a lot of tensions, and a person like myself in the government deployment, I end up being a firefighter. It happens in all the sectors. During the times of the negotiations, it's something normal during the bargaining that we are going to have tempers going up, and there are processes of how to deal with those things. But I won't say the Communist Party has deserted the workers. The Communist Party has been able to declare openly on a number of areas which are affecting the workers, including the issues of the negotiations. They were also very critical. The Communist Party was also very critical on the issue of the salary negotiations, which they felt that the last part of it was not implemented. So we've always been on the side of the workers, but I don't think people should look at individual ministers. They must look at the collective of the Communist Party, because when we talk in these issues, we're not talking as individuals.
Mr. Nxisi, have you, in essence, particularly when you look at how you've not been so heavily involved with the public sector debate on the salaries, on how workers, particularly within the public service, feel betrayed by government on the wage negotiations and the wage agreements that were signed 3 years ago, which were later not implemented on the final year by government?
We must leave the issue of the negotiations between the employer and the employee to that particular forum. And there are processes of dealing with the disputes which are arising out of that. And some of those disputes can end up in mediation, in arbitration. Some of them, they end up in courts. If they are rulings, they are rulings. But I can tell you now, with the negotiations this year, those issues are coming back, but we have learned lessons from that particular process.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thulasingisa. I'm just going to ask my colleague just to come with me one last time to go to the Deputy Minister of Public Enterprises, Mr. Phumulo Moswale, the man who's the deputy in charge when it comes to matters pertaining to Eskom. We're just going to steal him on matters pertaining to the power utility Eskom. Mr. Moswale, how far are your plans to resolve the issues pertaining to the power utility Eskom? South Africa is plunged into darkness. I myself this morning woke up with no electricity. How are you solving this problem with Mr. Andre Derecha, the CEO? And what were your briefings to the President?
All right. No, absolutely. We are seized with the matter. I wouldn't want to preempt the statement the President would be making. Safe to say that we have really given what we could to the President, and until that announcement is made, we are sure to have a changing situation in respect to energy availability in the country.
What announcement is the President making in terms of energy? Is the announcement pending?
You have heard already that the President is going to be making a statement, is going to be addressing the nation on energy matters.
When is that addressed by the President, and what are some of the likely matters to come out when we addresses on energy? No, Mr. Moswale, you have to give us at least one takeaway of what the President will announce to the nation.
Absolutely, it wouldn't be proper for me to do that. The President will make the announcement.
Are we looking at changes to the executive at Eskom?
The President will make the announcement of all the interventions necessary in respect of securing energy for the country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phumulo Moswale. There you have it, that the President will definitely be addressing the nation in the coming days when it comes to issues pertaining to the energy crisis that we are facing in South Africa. Many South Africans have been plunged into darkness due to the failures of the power utilities to ensure energy security in the country, and that's one of the matters that the communists in this National Congress of theirs are one of the issues that they want to be addressing on the issues of energy. But I'm just going to go and steal Mr. Jeff Radebe. He was once tasked to be part of a committee to look into energy generation and also look at the escalating prices of oil and gas in the country. Mr. Radebe, your committee that was looking into the issues pertaining to oil, energy and gas in the country, the high prices of gas that we've been seeing, particularly on fuel. How far is that committee that you once tasked of leading by the President?
No, I was never part of that committee. I'm no longer in government, as you are aware, since 2019.
So that since you left, that committee that the President set up, your name had been there, Mr. Radebe, to look into that particular issue. So it was dismantled.
Since May 2019, I'm no longer in government. My only role that is related to government is that of being a special investment envoy, supporting the investment drive to bring more than $100 billion of investment to South Africa before 5 years starting in 2018.
How far is that employment or that responsibility to bring those investments into the country, particularly looking at the energy crisis that you are facing?
Well, as you saw in March this year at the President Investment Conference, almost 75% of commitment to that target has been achieved, but we're looking more of that investment coming to South Africa. So we're looking forward as well to hearing the President indicating the measures, the emergency measures that are going to be announced according to SAFM this morning, that the President will be making the next few days of how we can be able to stop this load shedding.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jeff Radebe. The President will be making an announcement on the issues pertaining to energy in the country, an issue that has plunged the country for the past 14 years, particularly when you look at how the ANC and the government was first alerted of an impending energy crisis in the country as far back as 1998, when there was a document that had said that the government needs to recapitalize the power utility, because if they don't, in a few years' time, there would be an energy crisis in the country, and Eskom would be in trouble when it comes to energy generation, when it comes to their financial flows as well.